Hello everybody, welcome back to another tier list. This one is the one I'm most excited for because it's Generation 4, and soon you'll learn out just exactly why. It's not for the reason that most people would probably expect. To get things off, no Mega Evolution to be discussed here. I'll be discussing that in Generation 6. And Bidoof has his own tier, because it's Bidoof, belongs in his own tier. Next up, first up is Turtwig. I want to put it into A tier. I really like Turtwig. I actually kind of like the entire line. Grottle's a little bit of a weird one, but overall, I think that it's like a very, very like solid evolutionary line. The only grass ground starter, and I think it's the only grass ground type in general. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head. There's probably one that's out there, but if not, Torterra is the only one. Grottle, D tier. Not really much I could say there. The only reason why I would say that it's not F tier, like most people probably would place Grottle, is because like in the anime it doesn't look too bad. In the model, it looks a lot better. I just feel like with the sprites, it doesn't really look very well, very good with the sprites. Torterra is going in A tier. Super awesome design. Did Gigantamax Snorlax before Gigantamax Snorlax, so plus Detective Pikachu with all the Torterra, the giant Torterra was amazing. Next up is Chimchar, little Chimchar. I'm actually gonna put Chimchar into B tier. No, I'll put it in A tier just because I don't know. I mean, it's Chimchar. I feel like I'm required to do like say something nice about the Infernape line, but really I don't have much to say good about them. I know Blasphemous. I can already see people complaining or clicking off the video already if you haven't already quit. Um, but I mean, I gotta respect the Pokemon, even if I'm not a huge fan of it. Even though this is like a tier list about my opinions on the Pokemon. I don't really care for the evolutionary line and the Infernape line, but I mean, I respect them. They have a lot going for them as being the second firefighting starter, so they're not even the first. They're not the first monkey Pokemon. Uh, I guess they're the first fire monkey, but I don't really think the monkey kind of design works very well in Pokemon. I mean, like look at Ambipom. Ambipom's not that great, but I mean, not that bad, but the monkey design to me just doesn't work out. I mean, look at the Unova monkeys and that. Monferno, I'm also putting into D tier. So, if it wasn't for this really stupid looking blue stripe, I probably would put it a little higher. If it was changed to being like red or was like the same color, like the tannish color, it might look okay. Oh no. Okay, there we go. I hit one of the side buttons of my mouse. But really in general, it's not that great of a Pokemon. Infernape, B tier. The only reason it's not in C tier is because of the anime. The Ash Infernape like storyline, or the Paul versus Infernape storyline was amazing. Infernape's one of the reasons why Electivire is my favorite Pokemon, since it was mostly a thing of Electivire versus Infernape in the end. But other than that, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I think Blaziken does the firefighting starter much better. Just because it doesn't shove down your throat the fact that it's like a fire type or a fighting type, other than the fact that it's red. um, but I mean, like Infernape's got an okay design. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of it. I think its sprites look much better than its models, that's for sure. My little Pochama, Piplup, going into S tier. So Piplup is just like a super solid design, and the evolutionary line kind of follows very well. Somewhat like similar to like how honestly all those Sinnoh stars kind of follow their evolutions really well. There's nothing really like too jarring, like Wartortle to Blastoise, or like Crocodile to Feraligatr. I mean, Crocodile to Feraligatr is not too bad. It's still like a very similar looking design, just like slimmer and taller. But I think that even with Prinplup's flaws, which I'm gonna put it in the D tier, it still holds it up pretty well. And I think the only issue I really have with the design of Prinplup is the weird like jutting out part of the like beak of the bill. Just looks kind of weird. But I get what they were trying to go for. They were trying to lead into Empoleon, who I'm putting into S tier. Trying to lean into like the Poseidon horns that it has, which look really awesome. There's the tie, which Kakuna has as well, which looks really cool. And just in general, Empoleon's just really awesome looking. Especially when it comes to like models and the anime. It's always looked really nice. Starly, Staravia, and Staraptor. I'm putting all of them in C tier. I don't have too many like a big opinion on any of them except for Staraptor. I actually don't really care for Staraptor. I think that the again like the growth into Staraptor is done really well. But personally myself, like I don't get me wrong, it's definitely the most intimidating of the uh like regional birds, which is why it has the intimidate ability. But other than that, it just seems a little boring to me. The weird like spike on its head, I'm not a huge fan of either. B Barrel is going above Infernape as it's going into A tier. It is the quintessential Pokemon on your team because it is the greatest HM slave ever. Even if you don't do, even if like you're running in BDSP, you definitely running either Bidoof or B Barrel. Personally myself, in my run, I'm only doing Bidoof. I'm not evolving into B Barrel. I don't care what level Bidoof hits. I don't care how hard it gets hit by Cynthia. It will be a Bidoof forever. Kricketot and Cricketune, I'm putting them in B tier. I don't really have a huge amount to say on them other than the fact that I really like their musical design. I think that's a like a style that doesn't get made into Pokemon all that often, especially very well. The only Pokemon that really do it like to such a wild extent as Kricketot and Cricketune is the Loudred line or the Explode line, Whisper. Whisper, Loudred, and Explode, which even then is just mostly loud noises, not so much music. Shinx, Luxio, and Luxray. This is basically just gonna be like the Sinnoh 6 tier at this point. Because again, I would actually really like Luxray if it wasn't for two issues. One, it's slow and frail, which completely make it unviable to use even in like casual play for me. Especially when it comes to BDSP, since Cynthia's Pokemon are all with perfect IVs and effort values. You'll just be completely destroyed by her entire team. And the other issue I have is that it has almost zero physical moves that are any good. Outside of Wild Charge, which causes quarter damage recoil, it has the Elemental Fangs as its next best move, and that's only 65 base power. That is a terrible, terrible move pool. It also has Crunch, which I guess isn't too bad, but other than that, it really doesn't have much. So I mean, it goes from 90 to 80 to 65. Most Pokemon are able to stick around the 80 base power range. Like even Bidoof and Kricketune can, but Luxray can't. Uh, with all four of its moves, it doesn't even have good utility either. So just using it as a pain. And while it looks pretty cool, it plays really poorly. Badoo, putting it in F tier. I don't like the baby Pokemon, like I've said with Gen 2 and Gen 3. I don't like baby Pokemon. Roserade, I'm also gonna put in a B tier here. I'm I'm not a huge fan of the Roselia line in general. I think I rated Roselia pretty low in Gen 3 one. But with Roserade, every time I'm recording, I don't yawn until. But with Roserade, I feel like a lot of it's I mean, it's an interesting design being like a ninja, but it really should have changed from poison type to dark type. I think in order for that to kind of work as like a conceptual standpoint, or even dropping the grass type. I don't know. I think that definitely working with the grass dark would probably be the best idea. Cranidos and Rampardos. Fun fact: Cranidos actually can outdamage a Giratina, whether it be Distortion or Origin or is it Incarnate? I don't know. Base form of Giratina. It can outdamage both this form of Giratina and this form of Giratina. Since it has base 125 uh, attack stat. But I'm putting it in a D tier. It looks really weird. It looks similar to that of like the Gen 8 fossils. Rampardos is going up into C tier. Again, just like Cranidos, it's really awkward and doesn't really look like a Pokemon to me. But it does look a little better. Plus, it's funny because it's got the like what 165? No, it's got an enormous attack stat that is unrivaled by any other Pokemon in the game's history, which is awesome. You know, again, it's like Luxray. It has terrible bulk. It's super slow. So even using it casually is absolutely stupid. It completely wastes your time. Shield on, I'm also gonna put in a D tier. I find it to be really awkward looking. It looks like it's got his head stuck in a shoe. Bastiodon though, I'm actually gonna put Bastiodon in B tier. I actually kind of like the look of Bastiodon. It's intimidating, and that it looks like it could be in prehistoric times. Same with Rampardos, but Bastiodon much more so, especially if it was much bigger. Like if it was like the size of like a Luxray or something. I think that it would be really intimidating. Burmy, I'm only gonna put in one Burmy. Uh, I'm gonna put in. I'll put it into C tier. I actually just rank them all together. Uh, I mean, it does the backworm much better than Pineco does, and it doesn't trick you into the fact that it's a Pineco, which is really nice. But I also do really like the idea of the fact that they can change types depending on where you found them. Wormadam, I'm gonna also put into C tier for the same reason. Pretty much exactly the same reason. And Mothma, I'll put it into C tier just because it's a really interesting design. I feel like that it'd be it'd be kind of cool to have it go into like a cocoon phase because this is actually the only regional bug, or this is the only region to have its regional bugs. Neither of them going into a cocoon phase. I think it's the only one to do that too. No, Gen 5 also did. If you want to count Swadloon as being like in a cocoonish type thing. Combi and Vespiquen. Combi I'm putting in the C tier. It's a honeycomb with wings with a bee stinger on the bottom of it. On the back of it looks a little weird, but I don't really mind it. It's kind of okay. Although Vespiquen I'm putting in A tier, I actually really like the design of Vespiquen. It's super intimidating that. Although it's kind of surprisingly slow. I would have expected much faster. Like a really fast and strong Pokemon. Similar to that, like how Infernape is really fast and powerful, yet it's also super frail. I was expecting that with Vespiquen, but it's actually got like no speed whatsoever. Pikachu clone, F tier. Next up, we have Weasel and Floatzel. Weasel and Floatzel, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of them. I actually kind of like Weasel. I think the design is really interesting. But Floatzel, man, that's a little more difficult to kind of predict. Uh, Again, I guess I could say like I don't really have too many opinions on Floatzel. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it as to use it. I mean, it's fast and strong, but it doesn't really have too much going for it. Shrubby and Cherum, uh, I don't like this Pokemon at all. It's really stupid. The anthropomorphic fruit, and it's a cherry that turns into a flower. Like I get it's like a cherry blossom, but uh, it's not a tree. And cherries also don't produce flowers. But with Gastrodon, man, well, Shellos is the first one up though, because Shellos comes first. But Shellos, I actually really like Shellos and Gastrodon. I'm gonna put Shellos in A tier, and Gastrodon in S tier. That's probably one of the only like major Sinnoh Pokemon I actually really like. It's just it's such a cool like little slug, little I would love to like actually own like a Gastrodon just to like sit on him. He looks like he'd be fun to ride. I don't know. Ambipom, not a huge fan. It's kind of weird though, seeing that Ambipom is like one of the new evolutions that's not towards the end of the decks. It's like you have, you're like Weavile, Magnezone, Licky, Rhyperior, Tangrowth, Electivire, Magmortar, Togekiss, all of these new evolutions. And then you just have Ambipom all the way up here. Don't understand why, but whatever. But Ambipom, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It has a interesting evolution method, as it's the only Pokemon to evolve using when it knows double hit. Other than that, I mean, it's okay. Drifloon going into S tier mainly because of the fact that it steals children. Uh, I find that hilarious, and the fact that it hates fat kids. Says it directly in one of its Pokedex entries. I think it might actually be its Diamond and Pearl one, where it says that it carries away young children and that it dislikes heavy children. Drifloon, though, I'm gonna put it in C tier. I'm not a massive fan of it, but it's okay. Lopunny and Baneri, they're cool in my book. I mean, I actually really like the Mega Evolution of Lopunny. I think that's super interesting. And I think Lopunny is also pretty cool. It's got some really interesting like sets you can run with it, like playing competitively. With like Klutz and hitting with like a uh iron ball. Oh my god. Other than that, it really doesn't have that much going for it, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's still a really cool Pokemon. Oh yeah, Miss Magius is another one, and Honchkrow. That is kind of weird. Three Pokemon are just kind of like randomly shoved towards the front of the text. Miss Magius, I don't have too many opinions on. It's pretty cool. Honchkrow, I'm gonna put it in S tier. I really like the like mobster like look of it, and I kind of wonder what would happen if you try to rip the hat off of Honchkrow. Glameow and Purugly, I don't really like either of these Pokemon. In fact, I really don't like Purugly. I think Purugly is awful. Like Glameow is okay. I like the like swirled tail, but other than that, I mean, I'm not a cat person, so I already have like that judgment on them. But other than that, I mean, like they're kind of boring to me. Chingling, it's a baby Pokemon, but I kind of like it. I like the fact that it's just a bell. It shows like a nice evolution of like it goes from like a sleigh bell to a uh like a Japanese type of lantern, chandelier, not chandelier, wind chime. Stunky and Skuntank. I actually kind of like Stunky. It's a really cool base, but with Skuntank, I'm gonna drop it down a tier because of the fact that like what really annoys me is like how it's the little like piece of fur at the front like opens up like a flower. It looks really weird. Bronzor, Bronzong. I'm gonna put them both in B tier. I think it's really cool. I'll drop Bronzor to C tier just for the fact that it's kind of boring. But Bronzong, I really like. I like how it has like it could change its immunity depending on which ability it has. So when you're facing off against it, you don't know if it's going to be immune to fire or if it's going to be immune to ground, which are two of its biggest weaknesses. So it's always a gamble, which makes it a huge asset to a lot of teams. And it's also just really awesome. The shiny sucks, but all right, baby Pokemon Palooza here. Uh, Happiny, Mime Jr., and Bonsley. I'll put Mime Jr. up in the D tier just because it's funny watching it in like the anime and stuff, and like people's like interpretations of it, just like literally mimicking people. Chatot, the only reason why it's gonna go up to C tier is because of uh, Chatter's like special thing in Gen 4 where you could literally make it say whatever you wanted. Spiritomb, I'll put it in A tier. The 108 souls is really cool in that. I hate it for the fact of Legends Arceus having to go around and find all 108 wisps. It's just tedious. Gibble, I'm gonna put it in A tier. I actually really like Gibble. It honestly kind of reminds me of Fuecoco now that I'm thinking about it, and I really like Fuecoco. I think Fuecoco is awesome. So I think uh Gibble is awesome. Gabite, I'm putting into B tier. It looks really nice, and I think is a really nice like it could have been a really nice like ending point, or even just like a starting point going from Gabite to Garchomp. Especially since like Gibble is such a weird like starting point, and then it like evolves into such a different creature. But I think that Gibble going into Gabite looks really nice. Garchomp, this is a hard one because I actually kind of don't like Garchomp. I know, blasphemous, but I'm gonna put Garchomp in the C tier. It it's a really cool idea. It is a really awesome idea, and it's executed very well. However, most of my issue like with its design comes from like its facial features and that like the weird like stuck out head and everything looks really dumb. Its shiny is terrible, which I mean is kind of arbitrary. I'm also not a huge fan of. Actually, that's a lie. I like a lot of the pseudos, but I feel like of the pseudos, Garchomp is probably my least favorite. Mainly because it's shoved down your throat everywhere, and that's something we're gonna be getting to very soon. Uh, but for right now, I mean, like Garchomp, I like Garchomp. I don't think it's a bad Pokemon. No, I don't think any Pokemon in here is bad. It's either I really don't have an opinion on them, or I like them, but I don't like them much at all. Munchlax, I'm gonna put in B tier. I I hate the way that you have to get it in Diamond and Pearl, and I don't remember if they fixed that. If they changed that in BDSP, I think they might have. I think they might have turned them into a permanent 1% encounter. I could be wrong. But it is also one of the only baby Pokemon. I think this is probably going to be the highest ranking baby Pokemon. Riolu, I'm putting in F tier. Again, baby Pokemon. But also, I do not like Lucario. I just don't. It's basically Fox. It's basically a crossbreed between Fox, McCloud, and Sonic. And I don't like either of those two. But it's so boring. It's the easy like when someone's like, "Oh, you like Pokemon? What's your favorite Pokemon?" It's like, "Oh, Lucario." because it's like one of the most well-known Pokemon because it's shoved down your throat everywhere. That's the reason why I don't like it. It's everywhere. It's doesn't need to be. I don't mind Mega Lucario. I think Mega Lucario is pretty cool, but regular Lucario, I'm not a huge fan of. And oh yeah, another reason is like it's the obvious like I'm a furry type of Pokemon, as is Lopunny. But with Lopunny, it at least has like an interesting personality. Lucario has like the aura, which is cool, but other than that, it doesn't really have a personality. Hippopotas, I'm putting it in D tier. I'm not a huge fan of Hippopotas. However, Hippowdon, specifically female Hippowdon, going into B tier. The black hippo looks really, really nice. And its animated sprite from Gen 5 looks really awesome because it's like the sand's like spewing out of it. Skorupi and Trapeon. I'm putting Skorupi in C tier. I don't mind Skorupi. Skorupi's pretty cool. Trapeon is awesome looking. I think that like the little white parts in its mouth look a little awkward, but they still look pretty cool. Krogunk and Toxicroak, I don't really have much to say about them. I think they're pretty interesting, but I don't really see them all that much to make an assumption to make a stern judgment. Same with Carnivine. I'm not a huge fan of Carnivine. I think Carnivine's kind of interesting, but it's a Finneon Luminion, easily the worst regional fish. Even worse than like Feebas or Magikarp or even Basculin. A baby Pokemon that really didn't need to exist, Mantike. Uh, Snover and Abomasnow. I'm put Snover in D tier. I don't really care for Snover, but Abomasnow I really like. Even though it is laden with so many weaknesses, it's still really cool of a design. The first like Abominable Snowman Pokemon, the only Abominable Snowman Pokemon, and it does it really well. Weavile, I'm putting it in C tier again. I don't really have huge opinions on Weavile. It's okay, I guess. Magnezone, it looks so weird. I think that if there was one that really was not needed, it was Magnezone. Its design was just kind of weird, and kind of proved that they were just kind of like, we need new Pokemon in the region, but we don't really have Pokemon to add, so let's try to just turn Magneton into something. Licky Licky, I'm putting in the C tier. I like Lickitung and Licky Licky. I think they're hilarious. I think they get undeserved hate. Rhyperior, it's such a weird departure from Rhydon, but I kind of like it. I like the like, little hand cannons it has. Makes it look really cool, especially when it's using something like Rock Blast or uh, Rock Slide. Tangrowth. Tangela grew arms and became bigger. I mean, really, it's kind of stupid. I don't like Tangela as it is. Electivire. Okay, we need another tier. No, I'll put Electivire in S tier. You know what? So what I'm gonna do actually is do that, change Bidoof tier to Electivire tier because Electivire is my favorite Pokemon by a lot. No, not really. Shedinja's my number two, probably by not a huge margin. It's really awesome. It's super buff and strong, and the anime, man, the Paul's Electivire, easily one of the coolest like anime arcs being done with Paul's Electivire versus Ash's Infernape. A huge coming of age story for like Infernape. It kind of like cements Ash as like a competent trainer until they ruined it in Gen 5. Magmortar, I like Magmortar, but it does look. I get people's weirdness with it, like the big lips and that look really weird. But other than that, I think it looks really solid. Togekiss, I don't care for the Togepi line in general, but Togekiss is probably the best one. I'll pop up in C tier. It doesn't look anything like Togetic, which is kind of like a running theme with some of these new evolutions. They either look way too similar to their original form, or they just look so starkly different. Like Magnezone looking completely different, Togekiss looking completely different. Rhyperior, and there's some that look almost identical, like a Licky Licky, Electivire, and Tangrowth. But some work, some don't. Yanmega, I'm gonna put Yanmega in B tier. I think it's really cool. Plus, it's actually in Japanese Mega Yanma, so we had Mega Yanma all along. Mega Evolution was introduced in Gen 4. So, Leafeon and Glaceon, I'm gonna put Leafeon in B tier or in C tier. Yeah, I'll bump it to B tier. It looks really nice. I like it's like the rigidness of the leaves and that all around it. Glaceon, I like the. I mean, Glaceon. Yeah, no, I'm gonna put Glaceon in C tier. I'm not a huge fan of Glaceon. It's cool, but at the same time, it's kind of boring. Gliscor, obvious as to pick. Even I gotta admit, Gliscor is like probably one of the peak like Pokemon. Mammothswine, I'm gonna put in A tier. I really like Mammothswine. Mammothswine's a really solid Pokemon. Uh, Woolly mammoths are one of my favorite like ancient animals, or really just animals in general. The blue looks a little goofy on it, but I think it still looks really intimidating, really strong looking, and I would again love to ride one. Porygon Z, I like its design. It's really interesting with the like glitchiness of it. I think it works really well as like from like a coding type standpoint. Gallade, I'm not a huge fan of Gallade. It's kind of weird looking. I get what they were going for. They're trying to make like a male and a female counterpart. But I feel like in order to do that, they should have made Gardevoir only available to female Corellia, unless it came from Gen 3. Next up, we have Probopass. I'm putting it in F tier. Oh, they really need an explanation. It has a mustache for some reason. I don't get why it does. It really shouldn't. Dusknoir. I want to put Dusknoir into A tier. I actually really like the design of Dusknoir. The stomach looks really awesome. The fact that it's also Dusknoir's mouth is really awesome. It really adds to its fear factor. The fact that it basically just leads people into hell is also amazing. Frostlass kind of does the same thing, but with men exclusively, since it's a female. It's seductress. Again, I'm also not a huge fan of it personally myself. Next up, we have Rotom. I actually will list all the Rotom forms because I actually do have opinions on all of the Rotom forms. Rotom, though, I'm gonna put it in D tier. I actually don't really care for it. It looks pretty boring to me. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. Rotom Heat, I'm putting it in B tier. I like how it still has the oven mitts, which is really awesome. Rotom Wash, I'll put it in D tier. It's kind of boring. Like it, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Rotom forms in general. I do like their designs, and that's the only thing that's really gonna be a saver for them. But Rotom Frost, I'm gonna put in B tier mainly because of the fact that like when you attack in like the newer games, like when they start to go into models, it actually opens up, and it's not what. And I think it's like the only one that actually has like an animation like that. Rotom Fan, I'm putting an F tier. The typing is completely useless. I don't think that they needed to do a fan for a version of this. If they did, they needed to get rid of Levitate as an ability. Which even then, it would require them to have each of the Rotom forms to have their own ability. Which I could think of like a few, like how they could have like Rotom Heat having fire. Is there a fire absorb? Flash Fire. Having Flash Fire for Rotom Heat. Water Absorb for Rotom Wash, Sap Sipper for Rotom Mo. Uh, Honestly, I really wouldn't know what to put with Frost or Fan, but definitely did not need a flying type version. In Rotom Mo, I actually really like Rotom Mo, just because it's hilarious because it's just it's a killer lawnmower. It's the only one that actually looks like it's mad. That's like glad to kill you. It looks like it is willing to kill you. Lake spirits. I don't like Uxie. I think Uxie looks really goofy. Mesprit. It's okay. I don't have a huge opinion on it, but Azelf, I actually like Azelf. I'm gonna put Azelf into A tier. I think it's really awesome. It's not awesome, but it's definitely really interesting. I'm actually gonna put it in B tier. It's another just like one of like Infernape and Lopunny and Ambipom. They're super fast, but also super frail and super strong. So it's a high risk, high reward, like a sweep or be swept Pokemon. Dialga, I do not like Dialga. The fact that it literally just like levitates, it doesn't even fly. It's just really stupid. Plus, I'm also just not a general fan of the design. I think it looks really clunky and kind of is all over the place. Palkia, in the Gen 4 sprites, I'm not a huge fan of it. But outside of that, I actually really like Palkia. I think it's one of the Pokemon that look really, really good in models. And it's easily one of my favorite Pokemon from Gen 4. Uh, that isn't like any of the Pokemon in S tier. Heatran, I'm gonna put Heatran in B tier. I think it's okay, but at the same time, uh, it's probably one of the coolest fire types in Gen 4. I actually prefer it over like Infernape or Chimchar even, but it's got an interesting ability, great bulk, great offensive stats. Regigigas, A tier. I don't care if it has a slow start. It is still amazing. You could even run like a Choice Scarf or a Choice Spec set if you just want to bypass uh the attack drop since it doesn't apply to your special attack. Or you can even partner with a Weezing in current generations. Giratina incarnate form. I'm gonna put it into actually. I'm gonna put it in C tier. I don't have a huge opinion on Giratina incarnate. I now just realized it has 6 legs, but even then like it's interesting. It's cool looking. It's intimidating, but I feel like Giratina Origin is a much better looking Pokemon. It's super terrifying. Something like this were in real life, I think everyone would probably want to die anyway, just to try to get away from it. Cresselia, I do not like Cresselia. I'm actually gonna Darkrai next because it's the counterpart of it. Darkrai, I actually kind of like. I'm gonna put it into A tier. I think it's a super interesting Pokemon. As like it's one of the few that like directly affects humans, without like hurting them or anything. Uh, Even if it doesn't want to. I mean, like we've seen like one of the a couple of episodes of the Pokemon anime, and I think one of the movies there was a Darkrai that was like didn't want to be giving people nightmares, but at the same time like it couldn't stop it. Super interesting design. Fion F tier. I don't think we really need to talk about Fion. Manaphy. Then I'm not a huge fan of Manaphy. I think both of them are kind of mediocre looking. But Manaphy is really cool for the fact that it has Tail Glow and it's one of the few Pokemon to use it well. The only other Pokemon I can think of that really have it is uh Volbeat and Iglumise, which neither of them are very good. Next up, we have Shaymin. I'm gonna put Shaymin base form in B tier. I think it's an adorable Pokemon. Not very good, but it's adorable. It's super cute. The Shaymin movie was really good. Which I mean is where this weird looking thing came from. That's going into D tier. I think Shaymin Sky is really weird looking. I'm not a huge fan of Shaymin Sky. And lastly, we have Arceus. I gotta put Arceus into B tier. I like Arceus, but at the same time, I think that uh it's a pretty underrated design to be honest. I like everyone like people talk about it. People people like Arceus, but I think that it is like a bit of an underrated design still because it is like it's super basic, but it pulls off basic really well. It's something like Hippowdon where it's super intimidating still, but it's just a hippo. It's just plays in the fact that hippos are really intimidating. Same with like, I mean, there's a few like the Rotom appliances. Like they actually kind of they look like they could be real, while also staying in that realm of like fantasy. And Arceus kind of pulls that off, kind of looking more like similar to that of like a moose or a deer or something. But that does it for all of Pokemon. Here's the full tier list. Is like a shorter, well, not a shorter thing, but I guess let me see if I can. Here we go. So there's the entire tier list from start to finish. Gen 4 has a lot of really nice designs, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of those better designs uh get overshadowed. Sorry. But like a lot of them get outshined by like the Sinnoh 6. Your Infernape and Infernape, Roserade, uh Floatzel, Garchomp, Staraptor, and Lucario, which is kind of unfortunate because there's a lot of really cool Pokemon like Gastrodon, Honchkrow, Electivire, Mammoths, and that like there's a lot of really cool Pokemon that just get overshadowed by pretty basic Pokemon. And I feel like Generation 4 has kind of laid out a lot of groundwork to a lot of like the regional Pokemon. Like you have like regional like uh two-stage fighter or just like the regional fighter uh Pokemon. You have your like regional well the Luxray lines falls under like the instead of doing like the rodent they or like a dual rodent like I'm trying to think Luxray does fall under like one of the big like groups, but it's it's passing my mind right now. But regardless, I think the Gen 4 has a lot of like really awesome designs, but also a lot of basic designs that still hold up. Uh, that's all I do gotta say for this time. I'm looking forward to when I do Gen 5 because I feel like Gen 5 nobody's really done like a more of like an in-depth dive into what generation into Gen 5, and I'm really excited to be like the one to do it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.